Okay, welcome everybody. Today is May the 25th, sorry, May the 27th, and we have the best pleasure to have our good friend Martín Jimenez. So in the chat, I'm writing this to you. Dear attendees from the Multilingua program, we are honored to have Professor Martín Alonso Jimenez this afternoon. We are pretty sure that you will practice English a lot and know about this interesting topic about interculturality. At the end of the event, please access the following link and express your comments, suggestions, or opinions for us to continue holding events like this and as today's. Please, I'm very sure you will enjoy a lot. Now we have many people logged on. Martin, I know you will do a very good job. Thank you. How are you today, Martin? How are you today?
Fine, thank you. I am a little nervous because I see there's a lot of people here, but it's a good excitement. It's a good nervousness.
But there is no right to be nervous or anxious about this. I know you will do great. And this, I guess, is the first time actually that we have these chat sessions about interculturality. Why did you choose this topic, Martin?
Well, because I have since since 2007, I have been reading about it and I have done some research. I mean, basically the research projects in which I have participated have been somehow in the field or in the area of interculturality. But of course, I know this is a very introductory, or no, not even introductory. This is, as I said in the title, this is interculturality in layman's terms. So it is for beginners, and we're going to just approach a little the topic, which is very, very vague. Actually, I have read for 14 or 15 years. I've been reading about it, and the more I read, the least I feel I am an expert.
Okay, but at least you can share what you know, right? And I'm sure that you are gonna, like plant these seeds in these people we have today, this afternoon. So my guys, you are on the best hands of interculturality in the School of Languages. Martin, shine. Thank you.
Thank you, dear.
Okay.
So, dear people, I think I have, Paula Patiño, I hadn't said hi. Miguel, I hadn't either. So I will share my screen, people, and show you like more or less the order, because this is a conversation. So it doesn't mean we're going to be, I'm going to be talking all the time. This is not a talk. This is a conversation. So first, we're going to talk a little about the concept of culture. We're going to see more or less what we understand for that, and we're going to try to understand why we're talking about culture, about interculturality actually, and then we're going to talk a lot about the most visible aspects of interculturality, which is what experts call functional or relational interculturality, which is an area of communication in which what is pursued is to actually have communication amongst peoples of different, supposedly, nations. So that's why we're going to talk a little about the concept of nation, the concept of difference. We're going to talk about otherness. We're going to talk a little about intraculturality, representations, stereotypes. Also, we're going to see like the 5 most iconic savoirs, which is like competences that are spoken about from the intercultural communicative competence, which, as I told you, is part of what is like the traditional, functional, relational kind of interculturality. And then we're going to try to actually begin the discussion. It's not a lot of discussion with some more contemporary and more critical views, like, for example, what's happening with locality. and also that now some authors are not saying interculturality, but otherness. And we're going to talk a little about identity, hegemony, and pedagogies of the South. As I told you, this is just the beginning. This is just like an opening for a very, very deep topic. So to start with, I would like to ask you first for about 2 or 3 people to say why did you decide, or why did you feel interested in participating in this discussion? Do you I mean, is it merely because you want to practice English, or do you have a particular interest in the topic? Like, I would like to hear about 2 or 3 people. Oh, someone has written in the chat. Um, well, in the chat, remember sent you the Javier sent you the link for the evaluation, but then that is for later. And Lorena, so hi Lorena, tell us a little about. So Lorena is what is it again? Because I am an older person, so I used to say bacteriology. But what is it that you call it now, Lorena?
Microbiology.
Microbiology. Okay, after Lorena, Nicole will speak. So Lorena, why are you here? I mean, what is your main interest? I mean, do you want to practice, or are you particularly interested in the topic of interculturality?
Well, first, I wanted to practice my speaking and the word layman.
Really? That's what caught you?
Yes, that I didn't know what it means, so
And do you know
searched.
do you know now what it is, what it means?
Yes, well, in Spanish is laico, right?
Yeah, no, but the expression layman's terms is like when you want to talk about something more informally, more like not as an expert. I don't remember how to say that in Spanish. It's more like to talk about it, yes, informally and not from an expert viewpoint. Do any of you remember how to say that? So, oh my God, I forgot the order. Nicole, Brandon, and Maria Camila. But so thank you, dear. And let's go to Nicole. So remember, I think we have first Maria Camila. No, second will be Nicole, then Brandon, and then Maria Camila. So Nicole.
Okay. Hello. Good
Hello.
afternoon.
How are you
Uh,
doing?
Sir, first I need to tell you something that
Yes.
I can only be here for an hour because at 4 p.m. I have a music class.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Okay,
Perfect.
so
But,
I
but
will
you can
leave at
participate.
4 p.m.
Yes.
Sorry for that. And the second point, I don't know, is that okay? I'm here because first, like to practice my speaking,
Uh-huh.
and also because I want to practice what I have learned, like grammar and vocabulary.
Okay, very good.
Also, culture. I think that culture is kind of interesting because we know that there are a lot of cultures around the world. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yes, we have a lot of variety.
Yes, okay, very good. Thank you. And then I'm glad you're here, even having your class. Then Brandon. So after Brandon, Maria Camila, and Pilar is the last one. I think we'll talk for the time being. Brandon.
Teacher, first of all, I'm here because I want obviously to practice English because I
Mhm.
practice more like listening and I have no much people to practice the speaking. And
Yes.
and then also because I am interested in the topic because it looks interesting to me that the that you say their nation are not cultures.
Uh-huh. Okay, that's something that is the next topic. But I would like to get to it like from you with your participation. But very good. Okay, Brandon. But
Okay,
yes, that is something very much true. Nations are not cultures. Not even like I
because
don't know.
here, for example,
Yes,
here in Colombia, we have different cultures in just
exactly.
in these countries.
Yeah, exactly. And then actually there is an author called Fred Davant from France. He's saying basically that the word interculturality has served to do so many things that it means nothing now. And so that's why
Mm,
he talks about otherness. Because, for example, for the people who are in Antioquia, I want to tell you that something we know from interculturalidad is the term paisa is just a generalization. Paisa is not even like an Antioqueño culture because in Antioquia we have, so first, Paisa is a cultural term. It's not a linguistic term because in Antioquia, many people in the mountains we speak the
or for example, the people
Occident.
from Urabá.
Exactly, they don't speak. They don't speak. They don't have that accent. And that culture, which is the hegemonic culture of some areas of Antioquia, is not necessarily, not even in Medellin, we can talk about only Paisa culture. But
Yeah,
yes,
that's
thank
the
you,
reason
Brandon. I
because
hope we can talk a little deeper later about this. Thank you,
yeah,
Brandon.
thank you.
Okay. Then next was Maria Camila, and finally Maria del Pilar, right?
Yeah, hi.
Hi,
Well,
Maria Camila.
for me, we interact with different people, so we should know a little more about interculturality. So,
Mhm.
for me, I think that it's interesting to share this time with different kind of people, and also that they are
Okay.
in different regions.
Okay.
Mm,
Do you know, excuse me, Maria Camila, now that I have you all and I see that most of you are so young people and students, some are graduates, but you sound and look and have very young names. I'm very, very, very glad that this group is like that because going back to the term layman's, this is not a presentation, but I would like to get you to reflect a little about exactly what Maria Camila said, that like the relationship with others and what is that thing, because that word is very important in interculturality, the word other, because we live in a world of others, definitely. Continue, Camila. Did you finish or
No,
continue?
but finally, I can say that we really need to learn from the others, their tradition, their language, their
Mhm.
history. So I wanted to be part of it.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Maria del Pilar.
Yes, teacher. I like a lot these spaces. I would like to have um, 1 or 2 or 5 days with this space where I can practice English, speak English, because it is the most important in this moment. I believe for all students that in this meeting. For the other side, intercultural representation is very important because I appreciate the the screen, and I see that that your presentation is about nation are not culture. These two topics are separate, but
Mhm.
nowadays we can't separate these topics because I miss it all the things when I think about culture or when I think about nations. sometimes it's so different to know the culture in the nation because when you visit a country, you only know about the principal city of the country, about the principal customs, and know about the different indigenous people or a specific culture in the different countries.
You're right. It is, that concept is very interesting, and actually going, like, if you look at number 6, where it says otherness, identity, hegemony, and pedagogies of the South, we're going to deal a little with these aspects of otherness, because actually that is what it is. It is otherness. It is not that there is a main culture, although we have traditionally been taught to think that that culture is like some external thing that is given from outside. No, we are makers of the culture as well. I mean, we affect the culture, and the culture is very important, or cultural experiences are very important because we shape up our identity from those, from the cultural experiences that we have, from the people we relate with. And then it's something like, I mean, and this is my understanding, identity is a very important word because it is like our construction of personality that we have made from different cultural experiences. But then now that we talk about that, thank you, Maria del Pilar, let's talk about something different, and I will give you a little time to think about it. What do you think culture is? I mean, what is that term? I mean, is that something abstract? Is it something physical? What is culture? Have you ever thought about or studied about or read about what culture is?
Many
Maria del
cases,
Pilar,
in many
yes.
cases, teacher, for example, when I have traveled around the world, I know about the culture, but a little, not
Uh-huh.
a lot about the culture.
Yeah, but what is it? What is the culture? For example, when traveling, how do you know what culture is, or how do you see cultural differences, for example?
Cultural differences, for example, when you travel to Mexico, you know about the culture, the the day of the die, the day of of
Of the
the
death, yes.
death, yes, it's the day of the death, and the
Uh-huh.
famous liquor drinks. And when you travel to Peru, it's different. For example, the food you they show a lot the importance of the food, of the species food, of the mixture of the plate, and
Hmm.
especially how they cook. Yes,
Okay,
yes, yes.
that's, so you're talking about some actions, some beliefs. You're getting close to it. Maria Camila said social behavior. That's part of it. Very
Social
good.
behavior. Yes.
Social behavior, but you're also saying something very important. I mean, like the actions, because we think, and actually this is the first shocking thing that we have been um, taught that the ego, the I, the self, the me is something that is basically unique, and I made myself, which is true. But remember, that is also identity, and identity is shaped up additionally from, I mean, those actions that we make are shaped up by how people value some things and not others, how people give importance to things. And so we learn and incorporate that to our identity throughout cultural experience. Now, talking about culture, we have Nicole, Alfonso, and Paula. I guess with those, because that's 3 plus plus you who just spoke, and then we go ahead with a more or less um, explanation. So Alfonso and Paula,
Thank you, teacher, for this space.
thank you for coming.
Okay. Well, just taking into consideration what Maria Pilar has just said, the culture is, it has to do with all the things she mentioned before. It has to do with the customs people have in a particular place. It has to do
Mhm.
with the religion, with the political system,
Mhm.
also with the food, I guess,
Uh-huh.
and the way how people live. There are some other aspects related to the culture. For example, the weather. Although
Mhm.
maybe we don't think so, but the weather is another aspect that influences the particular behavior of a group of people in a particular place of the world.
Yes, yes, very good, very good. Actually, Alfonso, it looks like as if you had seen my presentation, but this is the first time I make this presentation. But actually, you will see in other slides that I brought those topics exactly. I mean, like geographical things, calendars, food, and things. And before Paula Elsa's, let me tell you that in oh, so let's go back to the beginning. Remember, we're going to talk a lot about intercultural communicative competence, which is like a more functional way in which this topic has been studied for a long time. Then we're going to hopefully problematize that problem, right? But basically, yes, we have the dimensions of cultural information, and the dimensions of cultural information are given exactly in those aspects: foods, celebrations, different beliefs, traditions, folklore, etc. So very good. Thank you, Alfonso.
Teacher,
Paula.
but
Yes.
I'm sorry, but a little
Yes.
comment.
Yes.
Um, but when you travel for tourists, it's so different. It's so difficult to know, for example, the parlache of the people that use in this country, because you
Yes.
don't interact with him. You interact with your family, but you see around how is the people, the faces,
Uh-huh.
for example, your fashion clothes. Another
Yes.
thing, Nora is can interact with other people, more customs or more tourists.
Yes.
For this,
Who's
your presentation is interesting.
okay? Thank you. But well, now that you said that, that is what we call about locality, which is a very interesting contemporary phenomenon, which is that, or which means that, for example, if you go, this is not to brag, but I have had the opportunity to be in Cartagena, in Punta del Este, Uruguay, en Ciudad del Salto in Argentina, and Viña del Mar in Chile. Those are what you call resorts. I mean, those are places that are what we call in Spanish balnearios, and then people go there and party and all that. What shakes me is that those places, you cannot really see a lot of difference being in such different countries. You cannot see difference because there are things in the contemporary world. There are many things that are done in a global manner, in a corporate manner, in which you do not feel the difference. Another thing is at the beginning of this, what do you call? How do you call this contemporary music in English that is not reggaeton, which is like trance? In English we call it trance, but you call it electronica. What do you call electronica? That's another thing. You go to a bar anywhere in the world and it is the same. Only that maybe the music may change a little and maybe the drinks can change a little, but basically it is the same. But so, okay, sorry, this is not about me talking, it is about you talking. Paula, you were going to talk.
Yes, teacher. Hi, everybody. And
So,
okay, I know the term of culture because I am a sociologist.
oh, interesting. And what is your your understanding of that
My
term?
perception of the term of culture is
Yes.
that is everything that it was made or produced by humans. Yep.
So that is one
So
of the. It's a very interesting view. That is like the organic view of culture, which is culture as opposed to nature. Very good. Very good.
and that's why we say sociologists say that anything is natural because everything is mediated. I don't know. Or,
Yes, mediated. That is a word. Yes.
By humans. So, for example, I agree with Alfonso that mentioned the climate, but you said, for example, the calendars or other things that was made by humans interpreting the climate or the stars or whatever.
Yes, very good, very good. Because actually, one problem with culture is that is a very, very vague term. Many, even sciences, social sciences have had different approaches. For example, at the beginning of my readings, no, I think it was at the beginning of my studies in the undergraduate program, I always had this problem, like what is anthropology versus what is sociology? Because actually, I mean, anthropology studies culture and sociology studies society, so societal phenomena. And then it took me a long time to actually make the difference. I mean, to see what that society is more like the group of people or the groups of people, and that culture is an abstraction that gathers together or mediates. Very good word, thank you. That word is actually a very keen one, that mediates how those people relate to each other in the societies. Very, very good. Thank
But
you.
teacher,
Yes.
society is not only a group of people because there in the nature are a group of animals, for example, bees or elephants or I don't know. They are together. They
Our
not
societies.
societal. I don't know what is the term in English.
Societal.
Okay, societal is different from society.
So societies is groups of humans. Is that what you're
Because the
saying?
humans produce symbols are significant, and bueno, I don't know.
Symbols, languages, perceptions.
Exactly.
Yes. So then what is for you, what is the, I mean, when you talk to your colleagues who study anthropology, which is actually in the same Facultad de Ciencias
I
Sociales,
don't
but
see a big difference because I want to study anthropology.
really? Okay, well, but that is a question that we have to continue thinking about. But for the time being, so thank you very much for the ones who have participated. And I hope the ones who haven't will continue to do so in the following topics. But now I want to share you a general, this is a long, an old kind of definition of culture, but I think it is very broad, is general. And before Alfonso and Nicole speak, I want to tell you, I want to read it, and then we have Alfonso and Nicole. All right. So culture involves, yeah, but first I read and then you talk, okay? So culture involves the implicit norms and conventions of our society. Its methods of going about doing things, the historically transmitted but also adaptive adaptive, sorry, and creative ethos. Its symbols, as we just said, and its organization of experience. I would only add not only the organization, like what we shape up the reality through culture, we organize the views of the realities through culture. But so, Alfonso and then Nicole. Alfonso.
Well, in fact, I was not about to say anything. Sorry.
Really? And the way did you raise your hand, or did you not put it down? Okay, so put it down then.
Okay.
Then Alfonso was not. Then Nicole and Andres.
Okay. Sir, I was going to say something that
Yes.
like a little information that I know about culture, not
Mhm.
culture, a branch of culture.
Yes.
I heard that I don't remember the society. It wasn't a society. It was like a little group of people. I don't remember how to say that. Okay.
Mhm.
That group of people, they were
Yes.
they got bigger and bigger, and now they're like I don't know, a city that is located in Egypt. But I in this
But
moment I don't remember the name.
and what I mean, what do you mean to say with that? I mean, is it a
Okay,
group
okay.
of people that became a culture, or
No, they were. I forgot the word.
well, but in the meantime, let me tell you, Nicole, that this is important because actually, when you say, I mean, it is okay to say social group, you can say that. But
Okay.
anyway, culture is so important for the organization of those social groups that actually, when you make a social group, there may be some cultural values and manners that you share together, but also um, in any even with between two people, you will make some cultural norms and behavioral things because human beings always relate through culture. It is culture like that helps us together with language. It helps us to to interact. All right. But so let's say thank you, Nicole. Let's see Andres. Andres, what do you want to tell us?
No, teacher one. I didn't finish.
Ah, okay. Wait, Andres. Just a second, Andres. Then Nicole finish.
Sorry. Okay. The thing that I was going to tell is that they used like the language. They have their own language.
Uh-huh.
Um, they don't speak English. They don't speak any language. They speak their own language, and they did that. They have two accents, and the two accents are like two languages because that changed like everything. It's like two languages, but for them are two accents.
Really?
Imagine that.
But
And they
why?
use
Because they were separated, or what happened
yes, there are like two parts of that
in this
group,
society?
yeah, of
Yes,
the
very
society.
well.
And
Another, yes.
but they used this like the different accents to their enemies on the past don't hear them like I don't know, they were saying tomorrow we're going to kill this person because I don't know, maybe, and they didn't understood because they have two accents and they speak with the two accents and they won't understood anything.
Hated each other because the
Yes,
other one had a different accent. Oh my God, human
yes.
beings. That's a very good example of how human behavior happens. Actually, we're going to talk a little about that later when we talk about stereotypes and different generalizations, because somehow we fear the other. I mean, that is something that I don't know where it comes. It doesn't come somehow. Interculturality or intercultural studies, that would be an idealistic manner or an idealistic thing that intercultural studies would like to get people to appreciate otherness, not to reject it, because human beings seem to actually reject the other. And that is one thing for reflection. What, or do you remember, because we are all human beings, so do you remember any time lately rejecting another group of peoples, even in your own society? Because interculturality happens even in our society. It is not something that happens just from people from other countries or other cities. Interculturality can even happen with our family, can even happen with our partner. So when has it been last time you have rejected someone else because it is another, because it is the other, or because he or she makes part of the others? So thank you, Nicole. Very, very good and keen. Now let's see, Stephen. What about Andres? Stephen, tell us your contribution.
Hello, I
Hello.
am not good in speaking English, but I like to practice.
Okay, go
uh,
ahead.
my idea is about the importance for communication or skill communication in the community, because human is social animal, I think. I believe.
Yes, the human being is a
and
social animal.
and people need to communicate it with, I don't know, communicate, or what is the verb for communication? I don't know.
Communicate, yes,
Yeah,
it's very good.
communicate with other people, or other, yeah, other
Okay,
people,
so yes,
and yeah, and they need symbols or other things, language. Another
yes,
is that about and relation with our own culture. Yeah.
very good. Actually, you're Andres, Steve, and Nicole, in these last parts of the conversation, let me tell you that you're reminding me of a very traditional old uh, culturalist who we do not recognize as such. His name was Lev Seminovich Vygotsky. He was Russian, and actually he was Russian in the times of the Soviet Union, and he said that there was like three, that it was not a dialectical position between language and society, or language and mind, but also that there was an abstraction that was culture. And actually, yes, I mean, society, language, and the abilities of people are very important to actually create these things. Thank you, Andres. Yes, because we are social, but in order to be social, we need language in order to communicate, language or symbols, some sort of means of communication. But additionally, we also need some sort of organization of that reality, because language by itself is not going to create the possible communication, because there is that thing that through culture we learn to organize the reality. I mean, we think that it comes with the mind, but actually it comes a lot too with culture. For example, in this picture you're watching, uh, I know it's a little small, but, oh no, sorry, I'm going to that one. What do you see in that picture? What kinds of things? Because if you look at that picture, it looks a lot like Junin, which is a very I mean, not Junin, like, what is that? La Playa. It looks a lot like La Playa in Medellin, right? But actually, if you think about it, what differences do you see in that picture, or in this picture better, with La Playa? Or
Teacher,
is
the traffic light,
the traffic line? What happens with the traffic line?
two similar colors, but in other direction.
Okay, so actually there is something about that traffic light. First, if you look at it, it is not right on the side, on the corner, on top of the driver, but it is like crossing the street, right? It only has two lines. And do you see anything with the direction of the cars? Can you see where
They're inverted.
they are inverted? Exactly. So
Yes,
people,
in other position.
yes. And by the way, about half of the world takes that position for driving, because even you know that in all the English colonies, I mean, except for the United States and Canada, but in England, in all United Kingdom, New Zealand, Australia, in India, in Japan, which was not a colony, but I don't know why in Japan and some other Asian countries, they drive to the left. In Colombia, we drive to the right. But then you drive there in those countries, they drive to the left. And that is their organization of reality. I mean, that is how they organize reality. So, for example, in Colombia, at least in Medellin, if you happen to drive, you have seen the traffic lights I put just on top of you, and you have to kind of do this when you're first on the line. When you get the red light, you have to be there because they're put there. Why? Because that's the way Colombians decided to organize a reality about traffic. Traffic lights are on top of you. In many other places, I actually, of the few places I've been to, actually, this is the norm. Even in Venezuela, traffic lights are on crossing the street, are ahead of you, right? And also, it makes, for example, this picture is or was taken in University Street, Auckland, New Zealand, right? And also about that reality, you can see that people are waiting for the traffic light on the corner. They don't wait in the middle, but sometimes in Colombia we cross in the middle if we can, because as you can see, there is not much traffic. So the organization of reality according to the culture is so prevalent. It is so obvious. It is there, and we never realize it because we have incorporated those cultural views and values, right? For example, I was there on that street, and let me tell you that for me, it was very difficult to cross the street because I'm not accustomed to looking in the left. I'm accustomed to looking in the right in order to cross. But at this point, I see that we have some people who want to speak. Let me, Natalia, first, Andres, are you going to speak, or did you not put down your hand? Because so first, Natalia. Hello, Natalia. Do you want to say something? You want to talk, Andres? Okay, good. But so Natalia first.
Hello, no, I don't know
Good
why.
afternoon.
Excuse me?
Natalia, who?
No, I don't know. It says Natalia. I'm
Raise my
sorry.
hand.
Yes, I guess it is your hand.
Okay.
So continue.
Good afternoon,
Good
guys, and
afternoon.
also professor. The teacher was saying something really interesting about we Colombians cross the street, not only using the sidewalk, but all any part of the street. And I know, for example, in some countries, for example, well, cities in this case, in New York, there is even a fine for that. If a person crosses a street not using the sidewalk, there is a fine that is called jaywalking. So you have a fine for jaywalking. That basically means cross the street,
Yes,
not using the sidewalk.
exactly. One thing that is important to say is that in intercultural studies, we're not very what we don't say legal or illegal, because actually in Colombia, believe it or not, or in Medellin, no, in Colombia, in the Código Nacional de Tránsito, it is a felony to cross in the middle of the street. But it is such a cultural behavior that if police began to actually give fines for that, I think we would be in big trouble. Or for some reason, maybe because the culture has not incorporated a law, because that is another thing. One thing is a cultural norm, and another thing is a law. The law is not necessarily the cultural norm, right? So, but yes, in many countries, people have to cross on the corner, not in the middle. And you actually, that jaywalking is also for not doing it in the corner or for crossing the red light, because there is a red light for walkers, and then you have to be careful. All right. So was there another person? Andres, thank you, Natalia. Stephen, Andres.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know. Um, I don't know talk because
Really? No, I'm just saying because I saw your hand high, but then it was that you didn't put it down. It's okay. It's okay. So let's continue. So people, yes, very interesting conversation so far. You're reminding me of many things. But yes, even imagine this picture is about a group of people who live in a different culture, and their natural organization of reality is like that. It happens to be contrary to ours. But another thing which is shocking is, as I told you, this is New Zealand. New Zealand is even southern more than Australia. It is very far. So it is a
This
very,
is Australia.
no,
Australia.
this is Auckland, New Zealand. This is
Auckland, New
University Street, yes. However, in Australia, there is also that organization of driving. I mean, you drive left. And actually, even when you have the opportunity to go in a car, it is so difficult because you're accustomed to the driver. Here in our cars, the driver is in the left. And in those countries, the driver sits in the right side. And actually, you would have to do the steering wheel, how do you call that in Spanish? Los cambios. Ah, no, the steering wheel is this. I mean, that gauge for the cambios, you do it with the left hand, not the right hand. So it's completely different. It is completely different, and it is another organization of reality. But now that is something international from a very far away country. I have another picture, which is, first I have a question. It will, I mean, don't make fun of me for this question, but people, what did you have for breakfast today? Who wants to tell us what you had for breakfast, or what is your usual breakfast?
I had eggs with bread, or I had eggs with bread, but my mom had eggs with arepa
Oh,
and
very good.
chocolate.
And chocolate. Very good. Anybody else who wants to share what you had for breakfast today?
Yes. Also me, Nicole, I had for breakfast bread
Uh-huh.
and eggs and arepa and
Uh-huh.
orange juice.
Okay, so that is very paisa. We had Well, but orange juice and areva, that is an incorporation because that is actually
I'm
not.
a caleña mixed with paisa with a lot of things.
Okay, so do you think the orange juice comes from being caleña?
I don't know.
Oh, interesting. Okay, okay. But so let me show you this. What do you think that is? That is a changua. Have you ever heard of changua?
I hate it.
You hate it? Why? Why do you
In
hate?
It's
Santander or
nice,
Bogota?
teacher.
Uh-huh. Is not nice? Well,
No, it is
if
nice.
it is nice, okay.
I don't like it.
You don't,
My
but why?
grandma
Because you
calls,
don't like the taste,
I
or
don't
you?
know.
I don't like it
Okay.
either.
But people, many Colombians, because someone just said it is in Santander and in
After
Bogota.
guayao, no, it's not common.
No, that is a regular breakfast. Many Colombians have that for breakfast. That or something similar, which is caldo de costilla. Caldo de costilla is just without the milk and without the egg, but with the with the rib, and then they have it for breakfast. Not for It's not really for hangover. It is people's breakfast. But I saw people. I don't know why. I can't see who raised their hands, but I see there are three people. One was Lorena. Lorena, can you, Lorena? Do you want to speak?
Yes, I wanted to say that I'm Caleña, and I
Uh-huh.
used when I lived in the past there. Now I'm in Medellin. So
Yes.
here in Medellin, I don't have or well drink orange juice. Since I've been here in Medellin, I forgot that, that I
About the orange juice. And in
yes.
Cali,
So
is it very common to have orange juice for breakfast in Cali?
yes, yes, I
Hmm.
didn't realize that. And the changua, I don't know, that doesn't seem very
Appetizing.
appetizing, but I haven't eat it yet. I don't know how it tastes.
Okay, well, it tastes a little like caldo de huevo. Maybe the problem is that in the Antiochian mainstream culture, we have this problem of um, having caldo de huevo, which is something similar, maybe without so much, how do you call it, colander, but actually it is very similar, and it is usually given to people who are sick. People, I have a problem. I cannot see who is raising their hands, but I see four raising hands. I think, can you tell? So who's next? Because I cannot see the names of the people who raising their hands. I'm sorry. Maria Camila. I see Maria Camila had the hand risen, and who else? There's four, but I only see
Yeah.
Maria Camila. So,
Well, I
okay.
can talk.
Yes, please.
Well, I'm from Bogota, so I'm really related with the changua.
Uh-huh.
So normally we ate it with bread, or I don't know how to say calao. Yeah.
And what is calao, Maria Camila? It's like a tostadita, like a toast.
See, yeah, it's
Oh,
like a toast, and also with a
okay.
cup of chocolate or cheese.
Mm. Maria Camila, did you say you're from Bogota or from Boyacá?
Bogota.
Really? And is it a regular breakfast, or is it for a special occasion, or what is exactly the position of changua in your original culture?
Well, it can be different in families. For example, for the family from my boyfriend's family, they ate changua for all only special occasions. But here in my family, we ate it with when we want. So it's different from, for example, Medellin. There's no bread or a delicious one.
No, in Medellin, we don't have that good bread that you have in Bogota. That's right. Okay, very interesting. So people, with this, I wanted to show you or get you into something dealing with this. I mean, culture is not a nation. Look at that. If we accept the thing that food is one of the dimensions of cultural information, then we can see that in Colombia there are many different kinds of breakfast. Not only there is in the Antiochian mainstream culture, we usually, for example, I am Antiochian, and although I have had the opportunity to live in other places and everything, here in Medellin, no, for example, I completely agree with Maria Camila. If I'm in Bogota, I don't have a paisa breakfast. I have bread because in Bogota, bread is delicious. Or arepa boyacense. Have you had it, Maria Camila? That arepa boyacense?
Yeah, it's
Oh my God.
delicious.
That is the best arepa in the world. Even if Venezolanos, I mean, everybody can say that they have the best arepas, but I think arepa boyacense is the best arepa ever. However, look at how within a country there are different cultures. And also, as we're going to see later, it doesn't only depend on region, because in Colombia, we have a country of regions which have different values and different traditions and different things and different ways of doing things. However, because of this phenomenon of globalization, of the expansion of media, it is very common for us human beings to be adopting things from other cultures. So at some point, I wouldn't be surprised to see Colombians having cereal for breakfast, right? Nicole.
Teacher, I was gonna say something that I need to leave now.
Oh, okay.
I got
No,
confused with my schedule. It wasn't my music class, it was my English class.
okay. So learn a lot, and please, Nicole, can you do the evaluation of? And it was a nice, nice having you for the time you could be with us. Okay.
Okay, teacher. Thanks.
Bye. Take care. Okay, so
Thank
people,
you.
yes, we have different cultures in a nation. And we have, for example, not only, I mean, in a nation country, but also in a city, we have different cultural expressions. For example, if we think about Medellin, we can see that Medellin is not only Paisa. Actually, Paisa is a very vague concept because in Medellin we have a lot of Afro communities. We have some native Colombian communities. So we have had a lot of different influences. So the first conclusion that I want to draw is that culture is not a term of a group of people. What we can talk about, I mean, culture is not like a big thing only. Culture can also be uh, like sets of values, norms, beliefs, ways of doing things of smaller groups of people. And several different groups of people can live in the same space, in the same, can share a city, a building, a country. So let's not talk, and please, let us that be the first conclusion. There is not such a thing as a Colombian culture. There is not such a thing as a Medellin culture, and there is not such a thing as my building culture, because there are many cultures or cultural expressions intertwined at the same time everywhere where there are social groups. Okay. Now, I want to show you another very interesting thing, which is which deals with this dimension of cultural information, the dimensions of cultural information. This is a calendar. It is of another country. It is it is a calendar about the festivities in another country. I will tell you the country later on, but first, what do you find different and interesting in that calendar? Who wants to speak? I guess, Maria Camila, you have your microphone on.
Teacher is the same, but it is in different order.
Really? Are you sure? The same as the Colombian calendar.
Ah, no, same as Colombia, no.
Okay, because look, for example, yeah, but you're right. There are some similar things. For example, January 1st and so forth. But and even Good Friday, they don't celebrate Good Thursday. Good Friday means Viernes Santo. So they have Viernes Santo, but they don't have Jueves Santo. They don't have Good Thursday, right? But look at January 13 is the birth of the Prophet Muhammad. And on February 23rd is the Republic Day. And on March 17 is Agua Holy is the start date. So I guess that is the new year, the new Indian year. And we have Easter Monday, which is after Easter Day. And Labor Day is the same as Colombia. May 5th is Indian Arrival Day. That is a very weird thing.
Christmas Day.
There is Christmas Day that is the same as we do, but they also have, so basically in this calendar, they have like Republican celebrations, Christian celebrations, Indian celebrations, and Muslim celebrations. What country do you think that is, Maria del Pilar?
What country? The Labor Day is the same in Colombia too.
Yes.
May 1st because it's International Day.
Yes.
No, teacher, the country of this calendar.
Is weird, right? It's a weird calendar. So do any of you know what it is?
No,
India?
teacher.
Yeah. Oh my God, and I see the 8 hands risen, but I don't know who it is. Sorry, let me see if I can trace who is raising their hands by walking around, but no, I cannot see who is raising their hands. I see 8 people are raising their hands. Please speak, but I don't know who, by the way. So can you please speak? Natalia, do you want to tell us something?
Well, I think it's India. There are 3 religions in India and they all are mixed.
Yes, no, but no, let me tell you that it's not that far. This is a very close country.
It's a country.
Pakistan?
It's a musulman country. No.
Is a what? Excuse me?
Musulman. I don't know how to say Muslim.
Muslim
country, but I don't know.
Not necessarily.
I
No.
thought that it was Nepal.
Let me tell you something. That country is in South America. Can you believe it is in South America? It is more or less near us. Do you know what country it is? It is Suriname. Can you believe that? And what happens is that they have a lot of immigrants from India, a lot of immigrants from Muslim countries like Pakistan. So basically what they had to do was to respect the 3 biggest religious traditions. But yes, that is a calendar of Suriname. Okay. Who wants to say a reaction? Paola, did you want to talk?
No.
No, no. Okay, no, I saw your
I
micro.
remember a class we had recently with a teacher from Estonia.
Really,
It
Halia?
wasn't a class.
Yes, it was a conversation.
And we talk about holidays in Estonia. And I remember a holiday.
Yes.
That its name was like the movie. Miguel, help me.
Midsummer.
Midsommar. Midsommar.
A midsummer, yes.
And this holiday was very strange for us because the picture Halia showed us was a woman jumping up the woods in fire.
Oh my God.
Bonfire.
A bonfire.
But what she was, but was fire?
Fire.
Her? Or she jumped in? She jumped into the fire.
No, up in the fire, up.
Really? So like jumping, like leaping over the fire. Oh my God, that's crazy. And Halia, she is a friend of mine, and she told me that Estonians are very cold. I think that is not cold.
No.
That is a representation. Okay, very interesting. Thank you for your contribution. Okay. Any other reaction?
I think that those countries there, the Guyana, Suriname, and Guyana Francis, they are kind of forgotten countries for Latin America, quite ignored.
Exactly. I don't know why in our networks, we kind of don't know anything about them. And actually, if you look at this, it is a very different organization of their I mean, a calendar is just one of the many apparatuses, because in culture, all cultures have apparatuses, and the apparatuses are like constructions or constructs that help that organization of their reality. And calendars is one of the ways in which you can see what values there are. And then, for example, if you look at this, I don't know if they fight among religions, but at least from the national general organization, you can see that there is some sort of respect for three important religious traditions, which is something very, very interesting. I only knew that about, for example, Singapore. In Singapore, they also have a Chinese majority, but they also have some Muslims and some people from Singapore. I don't remember how to call them. And then they have the three cultures within one. But then what this shows me is that in Suriname, at least from the viewpoint of the legal organization of the state, they kind of recognize three important religious traditions. All right. Are there any reactions? Okay, so let's go to another one. In this one, I want to show you, this is the last picture that I'm going to show you. It is a timeline of the sunset and the sunrise. And this is something very weird. Here you can see the organization of the time in Edmonton, Canada in winter. For example, you have seen how in English we have this problem that sometimes we don't know when to say good night and when to say good evening, because in Colombia we have basically the more or less the same duration of daylight. We have a small difference. So for example, on December 21st, we have the smallest, the shortest day, and the sun rises at about 6 a.m. in the morning, and it sets at 6 p.m. And then on June 21st, we have more or less the sunrise at 5:30 and it sets at about 6:45, more or less. That is, I mean, it is 1 hour of difference between what would be summer and winter. But if you see, what do you see in this in the schedule for the sunrise and set? It is in the middle of winter. It is in January. So what do you see about the sunrise and sunset? Edmonton is a very, very, very northern city in Canada, in the province of Alberta, and it is actually very close to the Arctic Circle. This is January because in June the difference would be like there is no sunset almost. I mean, per se, because there is even in the very like at 2 a.m. there is a line of sunlight that you can see. But then, what do you make of this different organization of the time? Don't you see a difference? So, for example, look at Wednesday. On Wednesday, it was January 1st. The sunrise was at, I mean, so twilight means twilight, which is that beginning of light, like that line of light that you see in the horizon, right? So twilight was at 8:08 a.m. and the sunrise, so that is like the when you could see the sun, was at 8:50. And now look at the sunset. It it set at 4:24 p.m. and then it was night, and the twilight was until 5:07. So basically, it was completely dark from 5 a.m. and it was it was completely light at almost 9 a.m. So can you see the duration of that day? It was about what, 8 hours of light? So if you see that happens in winter and then it happens differently in summer. What do you think? How, because at the beginning, I think it was Nicole, but I'm not sure, or it was Camila, said that also these geographical things change people's understandings of the reality. What do you think? How do you think, or what linguistic implications, for example, may there be of this? No? Andres?
I think that it is because of positioning of this country is in a, how do you say, polos or
Poles, in the poles.
need of poles.
Uh-huh.
And yes, it is. There is impact in the culture because I don't know, the job or activities in this country change respect other countries.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about it.
Yes, let me tell you something. The doorman of my building is learning English, and when he's here at about 5 p.m., he usually has a lot of trouble with saying good night or good evening. And do you know what? This is why we say good evening, because while, for example, if we enter a place at 5 p.m. in winter, it is dark, right? Whereas if we enter a place at 5 p.m. in summer, it will be afternoon, right? So that is why people say good evening, because the evening means hello after the working day. It doesn't mean it doesn't have the concept of night, because in summer it is not night, and in winter it is night, right? And that is why also you say good night to say goodbye, because it will definitely be, when you say goodbye at night, in winter it will be night since very early, but in summer it will be getting to be the night when you say goodbye. Okay. Okay, so far, oh my God, this is supposed to be until about, we have like 10 minutes. I'm going to show you. So, I mean, for you to realize from the communicative, intercultural communicative competence, we have to see that there are 5 things, 5 aspects that are important to know, which are that in order for you to realize the differences, the cultural differences, there are 5 things you have to be careful about. So first, you have to be dealing with knowledge of self and other. So you should know as much as you can about how your traditions, your ways of doing things happen, and what is the relationship of the individual to the society, because actually that is another thing. There are societies where it is very important that you are always yourself, whereas there are societies that are more gregarian, more collectivist. For example, sometimes Antiochians are, and then it is not so important what you individually say, but to work in groups or work for the groups, right? So you have to be in touch, to be aware of that. Another thing is that you have, I mean, in order for you to be intercultural, you would have to know how to interpret and relate the information. That is to say, for example, with those pictures I showed you, we were interpreting and relating information that may be geographical, traffic, food. As you see, I mean, it is just information, but then an intercultural competent person would be able to find that information within the cultural realms that it has, right? And another important thing is that you have to be aware of the political, you have to know how to engage with the political consequences of education or of that reality that you see, uh, being critically aware of cultural behaviors. For example, there was a huge problem when we realized that there was a Colombian native community that did female ablation. Female ablation is like when took, they take culturally the clitoris of women, and then that happened in a Colombian community. And then, wow, what was the ethical thing? I mean, because it was cultural, was it all right to continue with that tradition? The same happens with some African countries where they have that tradition, and then the United Nations has said, no, your culture is very important, but we cannot deal with that because that is too much. So what are the political consequences of the cultural information that we are aware of, right? Another thing is that we have to know how to discover cultural information. As you just saw, these are a few things. I mean, like, where does the cultural information lie, sorry, and that cultural information is usually or happens usually in in the most common day things. I mean, it happens every time, right? And finally, we have to be able to relativize oneself and to value the attitudes and beliefs of the other. So that is, for example, going back to La Changua, do I not like it because it is very different from what I have for breakfast? or do I not like it because I relate it to caldo de huevo, which is very similar. So you have to see, because what may be something not good for us may be good for other people. So how to deal with that, right? So that is for the international intercultural intercultural communicative competence. I wanted to talk a little, but I guess because another thing is that I will ask you a few questions. Do you have to leave now, or are you okay with staying about 5 minutes more, people? Dears, can I have 5 more minutes from you?
I can stay.
Yes. Okay. So let's do this. That guy you're seeing, who is that person, and where is that person?
Mexican person.
Mexican person. Why do you say so?
For the okay, hat. For the hat.
For the hats, yes. Okay. And can you see behind him there is agave plants? So plus he has a
Indigenous
poncho.
person too.
Yes, and he is wearing a poncho. So yes, we think
Indigenous Mexican person.
yes, but no, believe me, he is just an American person. I mean, from the United States, who lives in California and works at a Mexican restaurant. He is the doorman at a Mexican restaurant and he has no connections to Mexico, right? So look at how stereotypes make us see reality, understand reality, and then that is something that we have to reflect when we talk about culture, because it is like common to understand people from the way they dress, from their attitudes even, but not necessarily. We may be talking about, we might be seeing people as what they are and they're not really. I mean, this person is not Mexican. He has nothing to do with Mexico, only that he works for a Mexican restaurant, right? So can you imagine the implications of this? For example, when we say what stereotypes, what do you think about people from, um, for example, what stereotypes do we have about Valledupar? What do you know about Valledupar, Colombia? Don't you think Valledupar is vallenato? And then you think that all people from
Vallenato.
exactly. And no, not necessarily. There are people in Valledupar, believe it or not, who do not like vallenato or who don't go to the vallenato celebration. And so we have to be careful with stereotypes. Maybe if I can work at some point to have another conversation, we can go deeper into this, because it is very common, but we have to be so careful with the stereotypes we have for people, because usually it doesn't let us see the other person. It makes us believe we understand the other person, but what we believe may be completely wrong, right? So that
Yes,
is
teacher.
something that we have to talk about. And it is very common that we do. It is like a human constant that we always become stereotypical. That is something, I mean, you should raise your hands and say, I promise I will not be stereotypical from the beginning. No, but that is very difficult. Only I leave you that for reflection, okay?
Yes, teacher. Because sometimes the problem is that you know this city or you listen that the people say about this city, and how can I say, compare or relacionar,
Relate.
relate, and I relate with this thing. For example, Valledupar, Vallenato, La Costa, a lot of children's music,
Uh-huh.
liquor,
Yes,
hot
exactly.
days. And paisa,
working and whatever.
working,
Yes.
metro, something that you how can I say?
Relate. Some
Relate
things
for the
to
city, yes.
to the city or to the people of the city,
Or
exactly.
to the people of the city.
And there are sometimes many times, unfortunately, there are very negative stereotypes. For example, we usually believe that costeños do not work, right? Because we go on vacation to Cartagena, and then in Cartagena, some people drink in the daytime, and of course you're on vacation, so you don't work. And then we believe that people from Cartagena do not work, but there is a very negative stereotype because of course they work, and of course there are hardworking Cartageneros, right? So stereotypes is something that we have to be very careful with, because many times or most of the times we may be judging people only for what we have generalized about them and we don't know what they are. All right. And finally, this is just to, there is this picture. What do you see? For example, you see this person in the left is an Aboriginal person from Nicaragua. Honduras is one of the Central American countries. But what do you realize in that picture? What can you see in that picture?
That he has a really cool pair of shoes.
Very good. Okay. And on the right, what can you see on the right?
They might be perhaps some kind of monks.
Monks. They're monks on a plane, on a jet, on a private jet. Exactly. So this is another problem that I think definitely we will have to talk about in the future, which is globalization or locality. Globalization, it's a situation that we have lived with for a long time. We are always encountering and getting to know people. People are traveling in and on. We're watching movies and everybody's watching the same movie. We're playing video games that are international video games, etc., etc. And we are applying things. For example, in the left, it is funny to note that the community of this person wore or wears shoes that are similar to Colombian. It's not sandalias. I don't remember how to call. There is some shoes that we have that are made of fique. Do you remember? In Colombia, there is that kind of shoe that is.
Skip shoes.
No. They're made of fique, of cabuya. What did you say?
Alpargata.
Something like that, similar, exactly. That community wears something similar to alpargatas or nothing. And then what does it mean that he is wearing running shoes, comfortable shoes? It is because, of course, if you have something more valuable, which additionally gives you prestige, because with the price of a pair of those shoes, I don't think he is a poor man, right? So we're adapting. And maybe you younger people, maybe you're not adapting. Maybe it is within your reality that you've been with a lot of things that come from this problem of globalization, right? And then there are things that become prestige matters, brands, uh, actions like video games. And also it has made this thing that in the world, we don't know what is local, because local in some cases is global. We would have to think, what are some things, some Colombian things that have, um, let's say, traveled the world. Let's not talk about cocaine, please. But for example, coffee. You can find Colombian coffee, Juan Valdez. And so even Colombia has had some of those icons of a global culture. So that is something to analyze too, that many of the things we live, we do, we consume nowadays are internationally fit. I mean, are given from other countries or other cultures, and we adopt them or adapt them. So that would be a good question. And why? Also, there is a problem with globalization that sometimes products that come from other countries become prestige markers, and then you become prestigious depending on the brand of your running shoes, or depending on the brand of the things, or depending on the kind of movies that you watch, depending on the kind of music. Oh, by the way, music, reggaeton is another thing. Reggaeton is famous even in English. They hear Colombian singers. So that is another influence we've had globally. So we have to be conscious of that. And now to finish, let me tell you
Teacher,
that,
sorry.
yes.
But the problem is sometimes the stereotypes are because when you interact with other person in other countries, you record the image or the moment that happened with this person. For example, if you know an amazing person, a helpful, a wonderful person, you say when you return at home or at your country, oh, the person of Peru was amazing, they was wonderful. Sometimes this is the case of Colombia when the people arrive to Colombia and there are foreign people here, they say, oh, Colombia is a good country. I imagine for the news, how the news shows guerrilla, cocaine.
Of
But
course.
when I arrive to Colombia, it is a wonderful place to live.
Thank you, Maria del Pilar. That is completely true. Yes, that is the problem with stereotypes. Yes.
I would like to add maybe something that we could perhaps in another class talk about cultural appropriation. That is such an interesting, like setting boundaries towards what's local and what's global and how to protect local.
Oh, very, very interesting suggestion. And actually also, because actually, look at a few more things. One is that so far we have seen only like the functional view of intercultural studies in which we try to deal with the other. And let me tell you that sometimes we have an understanding of culture with a capital C, which is a view in which we think that culture is only like the European and North American values of music, painting, and blah, 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 arts and things. And that is a very bad understanding, especially when you're in the outskirts of those countries. And then at some point, we will have to also talk, I mean, at some point, other time, we can talk about this situations with a critical view of interculturality. Like, as you said, Natalia, why are we appropriating some values or some practices of other cultures? And is it some sort of colonialism? Are we being still colonized, or are we do we belong to that colonial perspective in which it is better what they do, and then we do not accept or value what we do? So that is another thing for another discussion. Because we have to talk at some point of the colonial turn, which is that response to many international movements that have tried to convince us that only what is done in Europe and in North America, talking about United States mainly and Canada, is good. So there is a big movement in intercultural studies that is saying, no, wait. we can see what is good and what is necessary of other cultures, but also how can we, well, that word, Natalia, you took the word, how can we appropriate, or do we have to appropriate all those things the way they come? How can we be critical about them? Okay? So people, this was it for today, but wait a second that I put this in perspective. Now I put it, and I will put you in the chat the Argentina. Some people said that was Argentina. I will give you that is the link for the evaluation, but I would also want to hear someone to close this conversation and to tell us, did you find it interesting? Did you have any interesting thing about it? Are you taking any important ideas from it?
Teacher, I would like to this meeting repeat several days a week.
So you would like to have more conversations?
Yes, I would
Okay.
like more conversation, and I would like to repeat this space, for example, not one or twice
A month.
a month, if I really we need, and I think that my my partners, I don't know, classmates, classmates need the same for speech a lot.
Okay, thank you. Another person? By the way, there is, excuse me, there is a Somos Colombia. Who is Somos Colombia? That is a very interesting thing. But Natalia, tell us. Natalia.
Oh, I was going to say that I agree with Maria del Pilar.
Okay.
And I have been in other type of clubs like for these skills, but I find this one really interesting because it's one of the first time we have been allowed to talk that much.
Oh,
I appreciate that so much.
Okay. Okay. Thank
Wonderful.
you. Thank you. So, any last person, or are we going to say goodbye now? Okay, so let's say goodbye now. I hope we can meet at some point. Or anyway, also, I mean, your evaluation, it is very important that you fill in the evaluation, not only of me, but of this kind of activity, of conversations. Actually, Javier, the coordinator who introduced me at the beginning, believe me, he does look at the evaluations and he does look at the proposals that you make. So please, in the evaluation, make proposals and things like what you're saying. And okay, so we will be in touch in the future, and also you will be receiving the information about more conversations. Okay, goodbye.
Goodbye, teacher.
Goodbye.
Thank you a lot.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Your topic was very interesting.
Oh, thank you. And it is, yes, it is very interesting.
I understood all the things that you say.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. Okay.
Thank you very
Bye.
much.
Thank you, teacher.
Bye. Take care. Nice seeing you. Bye.